Hey everyone, today I wanted to talk to you about cravings, and I've asked you what some of your current cravings are. I heard lots of chocolate, I heard salty things, fatty things. Of course, usually they're things that aren't good for us, right? We generally don't necessarily crave things that really we need, but our cravings are a way for our body to tell us we need something. We are lacking something and we need something. So it's the body's defense system that allows us to do that. Now, there are different reasons why we would have cravings, okay? So it's not just a nutritional deficiency. It could be several things. So I've got a list here of some things I want to share with you. Some of you may have heard this before, but if you have, just bear with me. But I want to share this with you, and specifically something I'm going to share with you about salt here in just a minute as well. But anyway, so here are some reasons. Number one, lack of primary food. Now, in the health coach world, secondary food is the food that we physically put in our mouth and eat. Primary food are things that feed us that are not physical food. So for example, things like relationships, things like your career, physical exercise, hobbies, your spirituality, those types of things that feed into who we are, that give us life, but are not actual food, okay? So that's called primary food. So think about it. When you come home from, say, a job you love, it was a relaxed day, it wasn't too stressful, you come home to a loved one or a spouse or family member that just loves on you and thinks you're wonderful, and you're in good health, those sorts of things are basically not associated with people that generally have a lot of cravings, at least for that reason, okay? Generally, when you see people that dive into a pint of Ben & Jerry's ice cream or Haagen-Dazs are not those people that have everything together. There's usually some primary food issues there, and we all have them, so it's not putting the blame or pointing the finger at anybody, but those are things that definitely cause us to have cravings, okay? So lack of primary food. Water deficiency, being dehydrated, can definitely cause cravings. And once you're thirsty, that's actually the last signal that you are thirsty. So if you are having headaches, or if you're really tired, low energy, not sleeping well sometimes, those can be signs of dehydration. And those can also cause major food cravings when you're thirsty or dehydrated. Something called the yin-yang balance. I don't know if you've heard of that before. Yin and yang. It's sort of the opposites, right? So oftentimes if you eat, and I'm not saying this is good or bad, but if you eat a diet that's higher in red meat, sometimes you'll crave sugar. It's sort of that balance. Sugar is a yin or a lighter food. Not saying it's a healthy food, but sometimes you'll crave that. And if you tend to eat a lot of sweet things, a lot of sugar, you will often crave red meat. It's sort of that yin-yang balance, okay? And again, the yangs are more the heavier foods. So beef and things like that would be considered a yang food. So another reason would be hormonal. And us women know that oftentimes during certain times of our cycle, we crave chocolate. And it's not even sugar we crave. There's certain things in chocolate that we get, theobromine, there's just different compounds in chocolate and healthy chocolate that are good for us, and our body will crave that, especially during certain times of our cycle. So that is normal. And ladies, we all experience that, right? Or men, you've seen your lady experience that. Something called seasonal, which for example would be, say, in the wintertime, I really crave root vegetables in the wintertime. I love butternut squash soup. I love baked sweet potatoes. And that's just simply because of the time of year. I generally don't crave those in the summer. I hate salads in the winter. They make me cold. I just don't like it. But I will eat and enjoy salads in the summer. So that would be sort of a seasonal type thing. And of course, like I mentioned at the very beginning, a lack of nutrients is definitely going to give you cravings. And so if you look at what you're eating and you notice that you're not getting enough of, it could be a small, micronutrient you're missing, or it could be maybe you're not eating enough healthy fats. I mean, it could literally be sort of a big macronutrient, which would be fat, carbs, or protein. Those are your macronutrients, but then there's micronutrients, and could be like a lack of folate, or something like that. That's a smaller type nutrient, vitamin type thing. So lack of those can definitely cause cravings. Something that we call de-evolution or self-sabotage. And sometimes you could be going along so well, and all of a sudden you just get the urge to just eat everything in sight, or you're going somewhere and you're totally prepared to eat well, and you just fall off, and you're like, what happened? A lot of times it's that mental, you don't even realize, like this unconscious desire to fit in. And oftentimes if you're around people that are not super healthy and are not eating the way you're eating and living the lifestyle that you're trying to live, even if you are on and you're doing well and you're wanting to do this, it's so easy to fall off, and we call that de-evolution. So that can be a reason why you might be craving something. And then the inside coming out. This has two parts. One could be your ancestral background, where you come from. The foods that you ate as a child can cause cravings, even if it's just a emotional attachment. If you know that you ate, I don't know, turkey soup. I don't know why that popped in my head, but it did. So say you ate turkey soup when you were sick, and it was always something that was a comfort to you because your mom or your grandma made it for you when you got sick. You might crave that during certain times in your life where you feel you need comfort. So those kinds of things can happen. If you have, for example, an Asian background, and you ate a lot of Asian food growing up, and perhaps you marry someone who's not of that same background, and all of a sudden you notice you're craving some of these foods. It's just part of who you are. It's part of your DNA, and you might find those types of cravings because of that reason. And then the other part of the inside coming out, I don't know if you notice, if you eat a certain food, it could be healthy, could not be. Like, for example, pizza. Pizza is one of my favorite foods I am not supposed to have at all because I have a gluten and dairy sensitivity to it. So pizza is like awful for that. But I love it, right? So I find that even though it might make me feel bad, if I've eaten pizza one night, I find for days, even if I don't eat it after that one night, I find for days that I crave pizza. And it's just because it's in your system, some of those negative things that are in your system that will cause you to crave, the wheat, which you've heard me talk about is in such a negative way. Wheat, and it could be sugar in the sauce, whatever it is, you'll find you'll crave it. And so that's called the inside coming out. And then I'm going to read to finish up here. I know a lot of you were saying, especially you ladies, were craving fatty and salty foods. This is from a book that I'm currently reading called The Bulletproof Diet. I'm putting a lot of these things into practice, and I know you're hearing me talk about these on my page and sometimes on our threads in our group. And I just want to read you just a short paragraph here that talks about adding in salt. Salt is another food, it just drives me crazy, that even doctors will tell you, lower your salt. It's bad for your blood pressure. Unless you have a blood pressure problem in general, like it's just inherent to you, salt in general is actually good for you, and we often don't get enough healthy salt. Now, I'm not talking table salt. Yes, table salt is bad. That processed salt is not good for you. The best is the pink Himalayan salt, the rock salt, okay? It's called Himalayan pink rock salt, and that stuff is really, really good for you. Almost I would call it a superfood. It has tons and tons of trace nutrients, does a lot for you. My second choice would be sea salt, but I'm going to read this to you here. This is from Dave Asprey's The Bulletproof Diet, okay? Add salt. There is a reason that stressed women crave fatty and salty foods: adrenal exhaustion. Like with hunger, it's important not to just ignore these cravings or to try and use willpower to overcome them. Remember, the adrenals produce the hormone, and of course, we're all made up of tons of hormones. That's what basically keeps our body working. Hormones that balance sodium and potassium levels, critical for proper cell function, so all the way to the cellular level. So if you're stressed, consuming enough salt will help ease the burden on your already taxed adrenals, or your adrenal glands. Your body is craving these foods for a reason. Listen to it. Doesn't mean you need to eat a bag of chips, right? A lot of times that's what we think we're craving, as unfortunately many people do. But if you're craving fatty, salty foods, eat some delicious bulletproof protein and veggies soaked in grass-fed organic butter, okay? Coat it with high-quality sea salt. It's not just a good idea, it's vital for your health. It will help you be a fierce, amazing woman who feels and looks good. So what they mean by bulletproof protein, if you're curious about that, I can let you know. But basically, grass-fed, pastured animals really are just high quality. You get so many nutrients from them that you can't get from other foods. Again, beef has gotten a bad rap over the years, and certainly commercially fed, grain-fed beef is bad for us. But real grass-fed beef gives us a myriad of really important nutrients. And of course, lots of vegetables, leafy green vegetables, just tons of vitamins and minerals there. And of course, most of our the vitamins in our vegetables, a lot of them are fat soluble. So if you don't have a high quality, healthy fat that you're eating with your vegetables, then you're actually not absorbing the nutrients from those vegetables. It's going straight through you. So we think we're doing our body good, but we're actually not. We're actually gypping ourselves by not having good quality, healthy fats in our diet. And there are bad fats and there are good fats. So I can talk about that later. But anyway, so those are some reasons for cravings, you guys. And sometimes it's just a mental thing. It's just a comfort, right? You're used to eating certain foods to provide comfort. And so in those cases, you really want to try to replace those feelings of comfort and happiness with other things aside from food. So your assignment today, share with me what you think would be a good option to replace maybe something, maybe some sort of comfort. So instead of going to a pint of ice cream or some chocolate for comfort or a glass of wine, what would be some things that you could do or eat that would give you comfort but would not be bad for you? So what is something you could do when you're having this hankering for terrible foods? What would be something you can physically on purpose do that would take your mind off it, that would feed whatever that craving is, whether it's for primary food, it could be a hug from your spouse, it could be taking a bath, it could be just de-stressing. So share with us what would be some good things for you to help you deal with those cravings aside from those negative foods that we really want you to try and stay away from most of the time. So sorry for the long video. I hope it gave you lots of information, and I'm excited to see what you guys have to say. So have a great day, you guys.